Okay, hello everyone. We are live coming at you in full color. Some of us from the Circle City, some of us not. This is going to be the kickoff stream for the Witches Black Lent, Black Wednesday. I am one of the hosts, Jasmine. You can find my links down below. Introductions are hard and awkward and weird. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm going to pass it over to our other host.
Me. So I'm Lorelei Black. I am Blade and Broom. I am the current regent of the Spiral Castle tradition of witchcraft, and I've been practicing for about 30 years, which sounds really weird to say. And I absolutely agree that introductions are weird and awkward, so I'll pass it along to Trish.
And I am Trish, and my channel is Beanbag Hagwag. I am a witch and an artist and a great many other things. I have a shop called Cricket Cane Designs, and I'm so excited for this year's Black Lent.
Hi, I am Abby the Witch. Find me here on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm a trad folk witch, and I am also very excited for the Witches Black Lent.
Okay, I'm Lennon, and you can find me here at Lennon Smith on YouTube. I am a witch, probably, I don't know, if I had to label myself, I'd probably be a folkloric witch. And it's my second year participating in Black Lent, and I've already got some really good ideas conjuring up, so excited,
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to this year's Witches Black Lent. I did take some notes, and just for anyone who's watching, our area doesn't have internet right now, so I'm using my phone, so it's a little bit more awkward for me to look at the chat, and I can't look at the notes that I took. But I think we were going to kind of start off, Trish, with talking about how the Black Lent started. So I think that was two years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, this is y'all's third year?
Third year. This is our third year, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I had done Pride. No, I think I did Pride, and then I did
Pride last year.
Okay, I did less than I did Pride. It's like that. And you did Sloth last year.
Oh, I did. It was awesome. And I did Envy the year before.
Yeah. And I remember talking to you, because we were talking about a couple years ago, we were talking about Lent. And I remember being really surprised that other left-hand path groups hadn't already subverted this into something.
I know, right?
It seems like it should be something that was already a thing, but I'm so glad that we've made it a thing.
So am I.
How was your Lent last year?
It was wonderful. During that time, I was death midwifing for my husband's brother, and so Sloth was perfect for me for the last year. It was wonderful to give myself permission to be a little sloth.
I guess we should probably start with talking about what the hell the Black Lent is, right? We should probably start there. Maybe we'll just go around and talk about what the Black Lent is to all of us personally. So I think initially we kind of made the Black Lent with the idea of finding empowerment within the concept of sin, and it being sort of a ritual of purification and empowerment for, us all individually connecting with it. And I think it's grown, and different people have felt different vibes from it. But I would say that in a nutshell, the Witches Black Lent to me is a ritual of subversion and sacred blasphemy. And I think that it's transgressive at its core. And it's been a lot more challenging than I had initially thought. So What is the Black Lent to you, Lorelai?
Ooh, everything you said. And for me, really, I think focusing on that empowerment aspect of it. I think finding ways to just even subvert the idea of sin itself, and looking at like, why were these things considered sinful? Why are these even sins? It's to keep us in our place. And so going, no, I won't stay in my lane. I'm not going to stay in my place. I'm going to reclaim this for myself and find a way that makes sense and is healthy for me to really embody these things. It's super empowering, and it's also very healing. I have experienced a lot of religious trauma in my upbringing. I was raised missionary Baptist, and so we didn't necessarily focus on Lent, but there was a lot of discussion of sin. And so just, again, sort of reclaiming some of these things as this is not a fault. This is a source of power. And being able to move into that really fully is I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Well, for me, I guess, these sins are all such human traits. Like, they're just human traits. And I love the fact that we can work with them, and it's a way to get personal growth. And I just, it empowers me, and it makes me feel sovereign. And, I did not have Christian back church trauma, whatever. So like, I'm okay with Jesus, right? So this is also a way for me to, while I'm bettering myself and learning more about myself, I think it's kind of a way to honor the whole Lenten season.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like what everyone else is saying it too. It's definitely subversion and sacred blasphemy and a way of empowering myself, right? I am someone who was raised Christian Lutheran. So Lutheranism being very close to Catholicism, there was a lot of focus on Lent. And this time of year, sacrificing something to kind of prove yourself to the Lord, and that could be very, as a young person, that could be kind of scary, and it was definitely a way to kind of fear monger. So adult Abby is very happy to kind of stick it to the man and, use those things to empower myself instead of feel like I have to be like ashamed or, put those things away. You know what I mean? So yeah, very empowering. I love it.
Okay, well, my experience last year was so profound because it really made me go internal, and realize that I didn't always have to go internal to find some wisdom. That in this inversion and subversion, I could go external with it, and I can radiate and project the things that I actually need, And with it being sin, it's supposed to be a sacrifice. I completely subverted it and was like, okay, give me. And in this, like y'all say, this like heretical ritual for this whole 6 weeks it really got me in touch with my witchcraft, like what I could do in the craft externally. And that really like somehow transmuted what I could do internally. And it was this weird juxtaposition between sin and virtue and what that actually means. And like Trish was saying, sometimes you are despondent on what can be human emotions, human traits, and things that come naturally to us. Like, I mean, all of them come naturally to us in some degree. And it's like really realizing what comes naturally to humans and how somehow Christianity, for the Lenten aspect of it, has somehow made it to where this equates to madness and sin and hell, which we'll explore. I'm sure we'll explore hell in some regard here. But all of it was really profound because I never realized I could do all this stuff, using the Lenten fast. Really, it's like more of an indulgence. It's like a self-dominion.
Yeah.
And, so yeah. Oh,
Yeah, that was definitely, if we're going to talk about our previous year. So if we talk about last year, I feel like that. Okay, remind me again. Did I do Pride or Lust?
Last year it was Pride.
Okay, Pride. I feel like my first year with Lust, absolutely, it completely just engulfed me. I thought Lust was going to be really easy for me because I work with that sin probably the closest in numerous capacities. I feel the most familiar with Lust. And Lust, she ate me up. She ate me up. Like, it was to the max, like X Games mode, buried in the lust, drowning in the lust, feeling all the things. Pride was actually so much more gentle than I would have imagined because, you know, Pride is supposed to kind of be like the eldest sibling of the seven sins. There's some sort of, you know, lore, if you will, that if we were to personify these sins, Pride is the eldest of them.
Yeah.
Pride is also associated with Lucifer specifically, as each of these sins have, you know, different sort of demonic lords, if you will, that govern them. So I thought Pride was going to be like, I expected Pride to kind of be like a big sister or big sibling that like would be kind of tough lovey and would be like, get up off your ass and wash your hair because like you are worth that. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? But instead, Pride was more like, okay, I'll sit here and rot with you for a while, but can we brush our teeth? Can we take a little bit of pride in ourselves? And it's okay if we don't today, but like at some point you need to get out of this like crybaby piss puddle and go take care of yourself. Okay. That's how Pride was for me. So yeah, I mean, it was way more challenging than I had initially thought when we first started this. Because at first I was like, sex, drugs, rock and roll, let's subvert the Lent. And then I feel like it kind of like gobsmacked me because I was like, oh, actually, this is like a lot of inner work. And I hesitate to use the word shadow work because I feel like it's kind of a buzzword and it's kind of played out. But without a better word to use, I feel like it actually demanded a lot of personal inner work that I was absolutely not expecting. And so I feel like the beginning of the Lenten season, I always have like this little bit of trepidation because it feels like we've just gotten buckled into the roller coaster and we've put that bar down, but like the ride hasn't really started yet. And I'm happy to be on that ride with all of you.
Oh, me too.
Next.
This is gonna get so big too. I hope this gets big.
I hope so too.
So we're talking about what we did last year and previous years. And I'll say, so I focused on Lust for both of the last 2 years. I first, and in kind of casual ways, I'll be honest, I embraced it, but I didn't dive deep in those years. I just went, you know what? I need some more Lust in my life. It's my favorite of the sins. And I'm having, you know, I mean, I'm going through many changes at the stage of life that I'm at. And I'm like, you know what? I really need to like re-embrace. I need to like not be thinking of myself necessarily just in this purely maternal, you know, matronly kind of way. Like, let's get the Lust back in here. So that's where I focused a lot. And it was really just sort of very personal working. But it's powerful, you know, and I think that sort of balancing of both the internal working of it and the external working of it, because I think we go into it thinking it's going to be this one thing. And maybe some of us have thought like, oh, it's this very internal process and it's just for me. But then it's like it draws you out and makes you be external with it. Versus if you go into it thinking it's going to be this very external process and then it makes you go look deep and like do some of that work, whatever that work is, you know, kind of that gray magic work of balancing ourselves or finding the balance by going, you know, that sort of crooked path of going really hard into the light, going really hard into the dark, you know, and kind of weaving between them and finding our footing in that. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. I love that analogy of it's like you're in that roller coaster ride and you're buckled in, but it hasn't taken off yet. And there's just all that anticipation. I'm really excited about this year.
The first year I did Envy, and Envy was really hard for me. Uh, you know, both of these years, all of these sins, it's like the Witches Black Lent gives me a permission slip to feel these things. I was always taught, you're not supposed to be envious. And sometimes it's okay. I had to allow myself, I was going through a really hard time, and I envied anybody who wasn't going through what I was going through. And just being able to do that without punishment or without feeling horrible about it, just allowing myself to feel those feelings. And the next year I did sloth, and sloth for me, while envy was really hard and it did take some shadow work, sloth did not. Sloth was like so healing for me. It's exactly what I needed, and it kind of taught me to fill my saucer as well as my cup, and to give others from the saucer and keep the cup for myself. I wrote an awesome poem for sloth last year. If you get a chance, go listen to it. It's wonderful. I can't even believe I wrote that. I was just so into it. And yeah, this year I'm really excited.
Wow, right when I have to talk, I have to cough. Sorry. Yeah, the first year I did, what was it? Greed. I worked with greed. And greed was very surprising. It really taught me to not let the patriarchy make me feel bad for living in the capitalistic hellscape that we live in, right? So it really taught me that there is nothing wrong with needing or wanting to have things like money in this capitalism that we live in. I mean, it's a necessity, really, unfortunately. So that was very interesting. Greed surprised me. And then last year I worked with wrath, with everything going on in Palestine. It seemed appropriate. Wrath was very fucking intense. Sorry, I cussed.
That's okay. I think we can cuss here.
Okay.
I think we can cuss a little.
I know. I don't know why. This is Jasmine's channel. I don't know. Wrath was intense, and the invocation I wrote for wrath was very effective. In fact, I put it on my Patreon, and I told people, please be careful, because this will indeed invoke wrath. So very intense. And this year I will be working with pride. So I'm excited. I need a little bit more pride in my life. So yeah.
All right, my turn. Last year was the first year that I've done Witches Black Lent, and I worked with greed. And it was profound for me because I used it as a way to, I don't know, what do you say? Like, instead of it being about like gain, it was more about allow myself, like I had to tell myself, you deserve this. Don't just say no out of necessity, what you think is necessity, or what you think is okay, or what you think you should. Oh, I shouldn't have that. I shouldn't do this. And it was more about allowing myself to take. And it was really cool because I use hands a lot. I use work with my hands. Like I pulled out my effigy. I made like a clay hand incense holder. And I really used like hands, like to grab and focus in on bring to me, and like, you know, using the hands in the rituals and bringing the smoke this way. And it was more about bringing stuff in and letting myself do it and letting myself have what could have been considered greed, you know, like I could hoard, I could be a miser if I needed to, you know, and but it was really about allowing myself to say yes to a lot of things that I would have normally said no to, because I was sacrificing, oh, this person needs this and this person needs that, so I'll sacrifice, you know, myself and what I need for that. And it was just more about telling myself yes. And like all of you have been saying, it was a little bit more, it was not as like as probably wrath was, but it was still like a good reminder that sometimes I can put myself first and it's okay, you know? And so, yeah, that's really how I kind of used it. So.
Awesome. Well, I guess that will lead us into talking about what sin we're going to be working with this year then. I think I was kind of thinking about this because initially I was thinking I might work with sloth, because I think sloth, out of all the sins, would probably be the sin that intimidates me the most personally, as a very type A, eldest daughter trauma driven person that thrives out of spite. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do all this. I'm going to do all of this like A plus plus. And like, I'm going to do it a lot and I'm going to be that girl. And I feel like sloth is kind of scary for me because I'm like, well, if I sit down, will I be able to get back up, kind of thing? Like, will I run out of momentum? And I was really thinking about doing sloth, but we are currently in the year of our Dark Lord 2025, and I can't think of any other sin for myself personally to work with than wrath, because wrath has already come to me, is how I feel. Like, I was thinking, oh, maybe 2025 and Rider-Waite-Smith, it's the year of the hermit. Maybe this will be my sloth year. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, I don't think so. And I think for me personally, it would not be beneficial for me to embrace sloth this year and kind of sit down and sit back, because I just feel like this is a year that I need to be taking more action for myself and also action for my community and action for others. And if anyone chooses sloth, this is in no way me saying like there's any issue with that. Of course, I think, you know, Lorelai and I have talked a lot about like magical resistance, and there's a really great video that Blade and Broom has about like the 3 arms of the Triskel that I really encourage everyone to check out. And if you need to embrace that first arm and embrace sloth, there's nothing wrong with that. Just wanted to say that. For me, I'm definitely choosing wrath. And it's also not just about the capitalistic hellscape patriarchy, crazy shit show government that we have right now. Like, it includes that, but it also includes like the shit going on overseas that directly impacts me and relatives of mine, but also just like on a smaller scale of like, I'm a Libra sun, and there's been so many times in my life where I feel like I've just kind of, and believe it or not, because I know I never shut the hell up, but like there's been a lot of times where I've kind of sacrificed my own personal comfort to keep the balance and the equilibrium of a group or like a room, where I'm like, oh, well, this is really inconvenient for me, but like it makes everyone else happy. So like, that's what I'm going to do. And I feel like I did that for so many years, and it became part of like my eldest daughter trauma identity, that I feel like I don't want to do that anymore. And I feel like wrath is a way for me to burn through that too, of being like, you know what, girl, no, tell them to go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? Like, tell them what it really is. And them in the micro sense of he, she, or they, but also them in a macro sense of like this government and like the systems that are working right now. So I'm going to be choosing wrath. So yeah, that's what I'm working with this year.
So I really thought that I was going to go with wrath. I really did, because I also have I have a lot of rage about what's happening. but I know myself enough to know that right now, if I indulge that wrath the way that I would if I was embracing it for right now, like I might just burn everything down, including structures I need in my life right now. And I thought also, like, the other side to that for me is I'm not sure that I can, and I'm not sure that I could go into it in a way that would not burn me up and sort of use me up in ways that I would not be useful for anybody, including myself. So I've decided this year to go with pride. And my reasoning for that is there's like lots of little nuanced reasons, but my reasoning for that is that I was very much taught that pride is the eldest of the sins. Pride is sort of the begetter of the other sins, like that they all stem from pride. And I'll maybe touch on that in just a second for why. And if not here, then I'll do it, as the Lenten season progresses. I'm definitely going to be talking about it like on my channel and that kind of stuff, because I really want to dig into it this year in that kind of way. But some of it is also like one of the little nuanced aspects is that it is the sin that I was taught was most associated with Lucifer. Like, I can't tell you how many times I sat in church and heard them saying that Lucifer's greatest sin was pride, that was the sin that got him cast out and, sort of made everything else sort of tumble into place. And as I think about it now, and as I'm thinking about what I want to work with, I think that pride is sort of the underpinning of things that are so needed right now. A sense of self-worth, advocacy for ourselves and for others. Social justice really is like, when we think of pride as that sense of self-worth and going, I'm worth being treated better than this. I'm worth being valued. I am a worthy person, and I'm not going to just sit down and shut up. That there's still a way for me to express some of those other sins, and especially wrath, because I'm not letting go of it. It's not like it's not there. But I think that this gives me a path that I'm excited about exploring, and partially because I think that in some ways I have, over the course of my life, just sort of played small. Like I haven't really gone for it in some areas. And I'm like, I'm almost 50. I don't want to keep doing that. I shouldn't have to keep doing that and making everybody else comfortable to the detriment of myself, right? Like keeping silent about things. I'm not good at that anyway. I'll just be honest. Like, I'm not good at keeping my mouth shut. If my mouth doesn't say it, my face always does. So, so there's some of that, but really just like being able to sort of dig into I want to go big, and I am allowed to take up space. I am allowed to have a voice. I am, I'm entitled to that. I'm entitled to it. And just even the word entitlement has so much negative connotation around it. Like, how dare you think that you deserve something? How dare you think that you're entitled to anything? You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And I'm like, no, I'm not okay with that. So I think that I have a lot of plans, not just this season, but this year, working on a lot of not just self-advocacy, but advocacy work, that social justice work. And pride is definitely going to be the underpinning to that for me. And I'm interested to see how else it plays out, because as we know, you start doing any of this work and other things bubble to the surface. So yeah, that's me.
Well, I too am choosing pride this year. It's actually the definition of sin if you look it up. I've always been the one to sit back, be the wallflower. Don't show, just don't decorate yourself too much. And I'm 60 years old, and I am effing proud of the life I have. And I think it's about time that I take that back. And I think it will help me in so many ways. It will help me with my creativity. It will help me with my job. You know, taking pride in your work, taking pride in your life or your surroundings. I just don't understand what's wrong with it, but we're always told not to do it, you know, not to be proud. I'm proud. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to work with it yet. But, you know, like the other years, we'll see what happens.
All right. So I already said it, but I too am working with pride. So I mean, plain and simple, honestly, I just need more pride in myself. I still struggle with that little voice, you know, if I say something that like, oh, I'm proud of myself for doing this, or, oh, like maybe I'm really good at doing this, or, oh, I still have that little voice in my head that's like, Abby, you know, don't be too proud of yourself. Don't be too, and I want to get rid of that little voice, you know, like I deserve to take pride in myself, and I deserve to take pride in my accomplishments. And, yeah. So that, also kind of like what Lorelai was saying though, too, it's like the more pride we have in ourselves, the more confidence we have in ourselves, the better we can take care of others around us too. You know, the more confidence I have in myself to be able to take care of and protect my loved ones. Right. So I think that it will benefit my community too. My, you know, whether it just be my family or my friends or whatever. So that for sure. But it's interesting because something that Auntie Bean made me think of was that this tag that I made a few years back called, what was it called? More Than a Witch. I don't know if some of you guys remember that, but one of the prompts or the questions was, what makes you an individual? What makes you stand out? Right? Because we're all individuals, right? What makes you stand out? And so many people struggled with it. They couldn't answer it, including myself. I even kind of had to like think long and hard before. I mean, I had my script and everything before I recorded. So, but it took me a while to come up with something. And it's like, wow, like, and it was hard, I feel like, for people to even like talk about on camera. Like it was awkward for people, you know, like in our society, I feel like it's especially for women and or queer women or cis or whatever. I feel like it's very frowned upon for a woman to be prideful or a queer person to be prideful. It's like, no, you know, and I really want to strip myself of that. So I've come a long way, but I really want to work on it even more. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. Y'all are all, so many people are working with pride, but I chose one that I thought was really going to get me out of my comfort zone. Okay. And that's gluttony. So I'm gonna be working with the Lord of the Flies. Okay. And interestingly, I've already kind of looked into this, but interestingly enough, I have an affinity for Cerberus, okay? And Cerberus is in the third circle of hell. So I'm gonna be working with Cerberus, I'm gonna be working with Beelzebub, and I really want to take gluttony where it can go. It's not always the one that's chosen, you know, if like you were to choose them, you choose the ones we've always chose. And I feel like it's so down in the sludge, okay, that I want to see where it can go. I don't want to just, like, it's not overindulgence in terms of food, but, and maybe even possibly not even material gain, but I want to see how indulgence, how far that can go in a world where we're deprived that, okay, in a non-capitalistic way. I want to see what self-indulgence looks like. I want to see what indulgence looks like from a non-reality. I want to see what it looks like from a place of sin. And I want to see how deep it can go, because the way I'm picturing myself working with this is that I'm like in like a vat, right? And like there's a whole bunch of rotting grapes that I'm stepping on, and I'm like, I think I'm making wine, but so and so's been telling me that I'm making wine. I don't know. I haven't gotten out of the pit, you know? So I want to see if the grapes are really going to be used for wine. Do I get to partake, or, you know, all that? And how deep does the well go? Like how much trash, how much gluttonous material is in the pit that I can wade through? And will it end up overtaking me like this kind of molasses treacle kind of a thing, where it'll end up making me feel heavy? If I want to see if it really will make me feel heavy. And I don't want this in like I said, not necessarily a food way, but more Dionysian, you know, more hedonistic. And like y'all said some really profound stuff about like, we know that the world right now, okay. And there's something about picking gluttony that feels that I want to somehow make transparent about indulgence and about sovereignty and about what we need to be taking and what we need to be indulging in instead of what we are indulging in. And I think that through my work with gluttony, I'll be taking some things away from myself. You know, to indulge, I might take away some screen time, you know, like I won't doom scroll as much because I'll be indulging. I'll be sitting here on my fat ass and I'll just be like, oh, you know, like I'll be like a little goblin king. And I can't wait. I really can't, because I feel such an excitement, but I really want to dive into the hellular structure, you know, visually, in meditation. I want to go to this third circle of hell. I want to kind of meet the Lord of the Flies. I can just hear the buzzing, you know, and I can smell, like I want to be able to smell. I want to use the senses, and I want to get back to a sense of self that radiates from those places. Because right now it's just me and a screen and me and this and me and this. And it's just like me versus these things. And I want to indulge to be a part of those things, whatever it is I am imbibing. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be profound. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I've already got some ideas for like the effigies and stuff like that I want to do. Like I'm thinking about I'm already thinking ahead, but I feel like this is going to be cathartic in a way, because I want it to teach me something about the world versus myself, and then me eating that world. I don't know. We'll see.
I love that. And I will add that I feel like when I was working with lust, gluttony felt very close to her. Like, and when you're talking about like self-indulgence, like I think that we can be gluttons for a numerous of things. And I also really felt, I like what Astra is saying here about working with Ashtaroth along with Beelzebub. Another one I feel like with gluttony and lust, kind of both, because I feel like I don't know where they fall in the birth order, but they seem close, or at least they get along in a different way than their other siblings do, lust and gluttony, because they all have their own like intersections with each other and apart and on their own and all together and in pairs. I feel like this is like a family of 7 siblings, if you will.
Right.
But Babylon,
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
she
yeah.
felt very gluttony and lust. Our red woman, our sacred whore.
Oh, yeah.
Love her. Love her, love her, love her.
Love her. Mara.
I want to talk about Dante's Inferno, so I'm glad that you brought up the circles of hell too, because Dante's Inferno has kind of woven itself into the Black Lent. And I would encourage anyone who's watching, if you are not already familiar with Dante's Inferno, I would take this Lenten season as a way to kind of familiarize yourself mostly with the Inferno, but if you want to explore the other 2 comedies as well, like Paradiso, like that gets a little crazy and wild. The circles of hell from Dante's Inferno, I think, can be really beneficial for working with Sen and working with Lent, because it kind of creates this roadmap to a realm that we can fly out to, or we can experience spirits that are associated with the realms there. And there's also an oracle deck that is the Dante Inferno Oracle that I am in no way sponsored to promote, but I personally just think that it's a really good tool for this Lenten season. So like if you look up the Dante Inferno Oracle, I'm sure it'll pop up on various different platforms. That was a really great oracle deck, I feel like, to use. I did like a walkthrough where you go with the guidebook and you go with the cards and you write your intuitive impression of the card down, and then you look at the author's notes and then write that down. That's a method that I like to use with oracle decks to kind of get to know them, because it just helps it stick better in my brain to like actually catalog it that way. And the Dante's Inferno Oracle was really fun to do that way, because you were literally going through hell. Like you're going through all of the circles. So I'm really glad that you brought up Dante's Inferno and hell. So I would love to hear if you guys have any thoughts in general or specific about Dante's Inferno or about the realm of hell, and like just anything that you guys have to add on to that.
Okay, well, look, I could talk about him all day, right? If we doing this round table, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump in here. Look, Dante, can we just say no one had mapped out hell before? Okay? Like the freaking ingenuity behind mapping out hell, not anything else, okay? Hell, the trip to paradise was like way shorter, like he literally went down. And then I even said last year that, this is a dream. Technically, he woke up in the witch's wood. He woke up from a dream and he got into the woods. He's in the witch's woods. He went to the other world and mapped out hell. Can we just see the genius behind this? Like for that alone, like we're not worthy. Okay. We are worthy because we blasphemous. But Dante has a way of describing, like he picked Virgil, right? And then if you think I can go through a catabasis too. This is a catabasis, and then if I choose, I can perform my own anabasis, which is an ascension, along with this, okay? But you have to go all the way to because it's like this, you have to go all the way to the bottom of the V, meet the devil in his, ice rink or whatever, and then you rise up. But going through the circles, looking at the punishments and looking at the nuance of the creatures, the other people's creatures, whatever, are in each circle, really looking at like the acid rain, and these people are fighting to the death, and oh my goodness, okay? Like if all the story needed was like a goddess, just plant some kind of dark feminine figure in there, and I mean it would have been perfect.
He's chasing after who's the girl?
Beatrice. Yeah.
Beatrice.
He's kind of chasing after her and wanting like redemption and closeness with her.
Well, the fact is that, see, when Beatrix died, she went straight to heaven. But he had to go through hell and purgatory to get just to get there to her, because she was so pure. Okay. She was so pure, she went straight to heaven. But in order to meet her in heaven, he couldn't just get there. And that talks a lot about humanity. That talks a lot about performance on earth. And it talks a lot about sin versus virtue, and what the church, this is why he was so heretical too, is that this was so profound, because he knew that he probably knew in some weird way. I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing that he did all these sins. So he was not good enough just to rise up to heaven like Beatrix, or Beatrice. So, but the fact that he was on this quest to get to her, he had to go through hell. He had to. It wasn't a question. And he met Virgil, who for all intents and purposes is like, I don't even know. Like, would you say like Virgil would be his fetch? Does that make sense? Or maybe not a familiar spirit, maybe?
I don't know. I've not really thought of it like that before.
Well, because I know like fetch, it's like what I would consider is like my doppelganger, you know, like I'm meeting myself. I may not recognize myself sometimes, but it's some kind of like myself right here. And then my familiar is just like a familiar spirit. So I don't know. What do y'all guys think?
I would tend to lean toward the fetch, or like the, that other that is the self, especially if you take the whole journey into hell as as just one of many examples of like the monomyth that Joseph Campbell talks about, the hero's journey and going into the belly of the whale, into the underworld, and confronting those aspects of the self and then integrating them for that apotheosis, right? Like that's the point of doing it, is that you come back up and realize your Godhead and have the ability to bring that back into the world and to integrate that in some way. So yeah, I would definitely tend to vote for Virgil as sort of the other that is the self.
Okay. Yeah.
Just as my thought.
No, I agree. I'm glad we're talking about this, because I think that I don't want to overanalyze it, okay? Because I mean, it was written so long ago that there are some nuances that can be problematic. But when we analyze it at all, we can find out some really interesting stuff. And that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. Now I work with the sense actively, like in my witchcraft, as I have these 5 things that I do spells for: self, health, money, love, blah, 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 right? And then I have this over here, which is the scientific method, which is basically how I lay out spells and rituals. Then I have another list over here that's the 7 deadly sins. And so I've always come to the witchcraft, and now I've always used it in an actual sin way, where not necessarily like I've studied Dante in such a way that I've still harbored the concept of sin within my witchcraft. Like, oh, if I'm lusting after this, I'm not even going to perform the working. I really need to dig deeper and see if I can find out the root cause, the root problem, dig in, shadow shovel a little bit to really get there. But if it's on the surface, if it's like I'm just envious, and it's not really confounded, then I kind of use the sins in that way. So it acts as more of a shovel for me. So yeah.
I feel like we can also pull inspiration from characters that aren't necessarily like traditionally listed in the Inferno, because again, I remember when working with lust, I was working with Jezebel a lot, and like her sort of blasphemous, lustful, entitled, what a lot of people would see as like the toxic, like dark feminine, but embracing that in a lustful way and meeting her in that circle of hell and experiencing lust with her, in her, around her, XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 10 out of 10, Jezebel as a spirit ally, let me just say. But I think it would be like a fun exercise to like pull characters from folklore or pop culture even, and like pull them out of a hat and see like what circle of hell you would sort them into. There's also like other beasts and animals that are listed in the Inferno. Like there's what, a bear, there's like a mountain lion or something. There's like 3 specifically near one of the top layers that like go after them. But I like that you mentioned the Hollowed Woods or the Witch Woods too, because when you said that, I think last year maybe, I was like, oh, that's giving me chills. Like that's giving me goose flesh. Before we wrap this up here, because we're about 5 minutes till 8, maybe we can all just kind of go around and you can let people know, where to find you at. If you have anything that you want to promote, feel free to promote that. And I'll also say too that like there is kind of a weekly progression that I think I posted on my community tab on my channel, but I think it's also on my Instagram. I think it's also in the Witches Black Lent document, which I believe is linked here. And I will make sure that I get everyone's links and post them in the description for everyone who's watching. But this is going to be kind of our wrap up, as we have 5 minutes till the hour. If we just want to send this round the mill, if you will.
So you can find me at Blade and Broom here on YouTube, and LorelaiBlack.com is a great way to connect. All of my links are at Linktree, and it's just Linktree/Lorelai Black. So the way it's spelled here on the thing, because I know I spell it in a tricky way.
Should I go? Can you not find the mute button? Okay. So you guys can find me Abby the Witch, just like it is spelled here, on YouTube. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I never get on because I hate Facebook. And also I'm on Patreon. So find me over there if you want to. And I just want to add one little thing. I'm not super familiar with Dante's Inferno, but I will say, when you said that he mentioned the Witch's Woods or the Hollowed Woods, Jasmine, I agree. That gives me chills, because like that's where I find the entrance to the underworld, the entrance to hell. So, yeah. Anyway.
All right, I'll go. My channel is Beanbag Hagwag, and I'm also on Instagram. And I have a shop on Etsy that is Crooked Cane Designs. And I usually just mostly sell my art and spiritual implements on there.
Okay. You can find me on YouTube. My name is spelled just like this. You can find me on Instagram. I'm not on any other socials, but I do have several books out right now on Amazon. I wrote a couple of poetry books and some oracle books. Currently writing 2 actual books that aren't poetry books that will come out later in the year around Samhain, and I'm writing one that will come out in Beltane about feral witchcraft. So as an advocate for that. So I got a lot of poetry going out, but so you can find me on Amazon, YouTube, and Instagram.
Right on. You can find all of my links down below. I will try to make sure that I get my guests' links to put them also in the description. Go check them out. I'm excited for us to ride this roller coaster that is the Witches Black Lent. I'm excited to embrace sin with you all. I look forward to seeing everyone's, posts or videos. I would encourage everyone, like, if you could make your weekly upload as like a community tab post, or as like a YouTube short, or, if you want to make a whole video, make one, or you can make a 30-second clip, or you could just make a post, but use the hashtag Witches Black Lent so all of us can kind of follow the thread across the virtual sphere. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for this stream. I'm looking forward to the Feast of Fiends, which the Feast of Fiends will be the stream that we do all together at the end to kind of celebrate. So I'm still kind of planning and putting some of those specifics together. So I'll get in touch with you all, and also everyone who's watching. I'll have some sort of something posted on the channel with an announcement about when that will be. And with that being said, I think this is going to wrap it up. So until next time, blessed be, and I hope to see you in the Inferno.
Goodbye.